you, baby, I don't wanna stop.
A warm welcome back to Nightchild Reviews. Prince, I believe, was not simply an artist. He was a movement. The maestro behind the Minneapolis sound, not so much a musician, but an entire genre. Funk, blues, jazz, soul, pop, rap, classical, R&B. Prince ran the entire range of musical possibility, and then for good measure, ran a few more laps. And this occasional series of videos will focus on just one aspect of that, his enormous and unprecedented contribution to other artists and their body of work. For if ever there was a case of a human being having too many ideas for one person to contain it, it is Prince. Truly, his cup fully overflowed. His contribution to other artists throughout his career was remarkable in many ways, one of which was the huge range of varying interactions and closeness with which he worked with artists. Sometimes Prince would simply offer a track to an artist he admired or thought would suit a particular track, and the song would go off and have a life of its own. Whereas other times Prince would work closely with the artists, such as with a number of the bands he created or protege acts. What made these tracks special was that when Prince worked with another artist, he almost always seemed to approach each song differently, trying to work out what motivated each singer, what were their particular strengths, how could the track bring out the best in their performance. Sometimes the first song offered wasn't the one for them, such as when Joe Cocker was offered Old Friends for sale. But Prince would work to find one that did suit them perfectly, such as 5 Women for Joe. Prince's musical journey involved a whole community of remarkable artists whose work he significantly contributed to. Today, we're going to take a very quick look at the very beginning of that journey, with Prince's contribution to Ren Wood's second album, As Is. Ren Woods is, alongside being a vocalist, also a songwriter and an actor who appeared in the TV series Roots and the film Hair. How Prince became aware of her is somewhat unclear. Born in the same year as Prince, his contribution to her album here is groundbreaking in a number of ways. It is firstly the very first time Prince gave away a track which then appeared on an album but without Prince making any contribution to the released version. It is also, perhaps even more fascinatingly, the first time Prince demanded that a song be removed from later pressings of the album. Whilst Ren released her album in spring 1982, as Prince was getting ready to take over the world by storm with 1999 a few months later, Prince actually began work on the track way back in 1980. Prince's original version seems to have remained in the vault, one can presume, as it hasn't yet made its way out into the world. What differences Prince's version displays is an intriguing question. The track itself is pure 70s disco on stilts, from the fanfare of horns opening to the pulsing bass and frenetic pace of the song. The lyrics show some of Prince's already developing style. Then I met you, boy, it felt so right. Keep it coming till the early morning light. Might be addicted, baby, maybe I might. Alls I know is you make me want it every night. There are obvious links here to the much later song Chelsea Rogers, which is very much an upbeat ode to this type of track. It's actually a pretty addictive groove, which hits all the accents musically you would expect from the late 70s era. Ren's vocal performance is full of energy, and she excels. You're so bad you make me want to scream, and rather like Prince would do later, a scream follows that line. So bad, something out of a dream. The way you did it, boy, felt so good, made me feel like a woman should. Prince, however, as he entered the 1999 era, had second thoughts about the track being out there with his name attached and requested that it be removed from later pressings of the vinyl album. It is here I must pay huge credit to the remarkable Prince writer Zach Hoskins, who runs a great Prince blog, the link is below, called Dance, Music, Sex, Romance, which can be found at princesongs.org. A real joyful exploration of Prince's unique catalogue. Zach has the potential reason for Prince's actions, and I'm quoting him here. When Prince demoed I Don't Wanna Stop in 1980, he was deliberately going out on a limb, a mad scientist sequestering himself in his laboratory to invent the future of black music. It makes sense then that 2 years later, just as the fruits of his labours were starting to break through to the mainstream, he'd want to distance himself from something as pedestrian as the final recording. It's certainly a strong argument, although it is relatively unusual for Prince to pull a track in these circumstances. However, Prince had moved on musically and conceptually. We may never know the full reason. It is telling that Prince often insisted that the right to develop other acts formed part of his contract with record companies, and his contributions to other artists, whether as full corporations or by the simple use of his songs, such as with the worldwide hit Nothing Compares to You. Prince envisioned a world of creativity beyond his own albums and sensed he could influence the entire musical world. In this sense, I Don't Want to Stop has actually achieved something of that influence even to this day, as a number of dance troupes have latched onto the track to create their own fast-paced disco routines. The fact that the next generation are grabbing this Prince-penned song from over 40 years ago fills me with hope and joy for the future legacy of Prince's work. I have included some of these routines with YouTube links below. Prince had begun his mission here, and despite initial hesitation, he had tasted the possibilities of his songs, his children as he called them, growing, developing and moving on to other homes. Prince's talent was spilling beyond Minneapolis, and one thing was clear, he didn't want to stop. Thank you.